beautiful friends, welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Anna and today we're making the best roasted potatoes of your life. These are incredibly crispy on the outside and they're nice and creamy and fluffy on the inside. They are an absolute must around here. I think I make these potatoes once a week, if not twice, because they're that fantastic and they're really easy. They're really simple, only requires a handful of ingredients. So let me show you what they are so you can get started. Of course, you're going to need your potatoes. Here I'm using some roasted potatoes, but you can use any type of potatoes you like. I really prefer roasted potatoes whenever I'm baking. I think the texture is just perfect and that's what I really enjoy, but you can use any other type of potatoes you like. You're going to need some, well, this is a rosemary garlic roasted potato, so you're going to need some rosemary and some garlic, some salt, pepper. This is a little secret ingredient, well, not so secret, but it's kind of secret. This is some baking soda. We're going to add this to the water. It's going to make the potatoes even fluffier and crispier. You're going to need some oil. I personally like to use two different types of oils, and here's why. I love some extra virgin olive oil because of the flavor. It just provides beautiful, beautiful flavor that complements the rosemary and the garlic very, very well. So that's why I like to use extra virgin olive oil. But the only thing about extra virgin olive oil is that it has a low smoke point, which means it can burn quite easily. And I personally like to heat up my oil in the pan. So as soon as I turn on the oven, I pop it in the pan with the oil and I just let it preheat along with the oven. Since extra virgin olive oil has a low smoke point, it can burn, and obviously we don't want that flavor in the final product. So I find that if I mix it with some avocado oil, which has a high smoke point, it prevents the extra virgin olive oil from burning. And the good thing about avocado oil is that it doesn't really have much flavor. It's quite neutral. So these two go pretty much hand in hand. I know some people like to use just plain olive oil. Some other people like to use lard, just avocado oil, vegetable oil, pretty much whatever you like you can use. Just make sure that you're careful if you're using a oil that has a slow smoke point because it can burn, and we definitely don't want that because it changes the flavor in our potatoes. With that being said, here is what we're going to do. I have some potatoes here. I just have them in water because since I peel them, I don't want them to brown too quickly. This one has a little bit of a damage, so I'm gonna remove that. I also have a medium saucepan here with some water because obviously we have to boil the potatoes, but let me show you how I like to cut the potatoes. You can cut your potatoes any size you like, but I like to cut them in half lengthwise, and then I like to cut them at an angle, making sure the potatoes are still pretty much the same size. But I learned this little trick and I haven't cut my potatoes any other way ever since. It just gives you more surface for your potatoes to get crispy, and I think it's beautiful. Okay, so we cut it lengthwise, we cut them again in half, and then we just give it some kind of like in regular cuts. So now we add the potatoes to some clean water. I cannot wait to eat these. These are a little small, so I'm gonna leave that behind because they're just gonna burn and there's no point in that. I'm gonna turn on the heat to medium. I'm gonna add some salt, just a good pinch of salt, because we want to season our potatoes on the inside. Obviously the salted water is going to soak a little bit on the potatoes and it's going to season them beautifully. And we're going to add baking soda. Let me just give this a quick stir. And now we have to let the potatoes cook. You don't want to cook them all the way through. You just want to cook them until they're kind of soft on the outside, but they're still undercooked on the inside, because if you cook them all the way, what's going to happen once you transfer it to the pan, they're just going to be too soft and they're going to be kind of like mashy, and we don't want mashed potatoes. We want roasted potatoes. But I mean, it depends. If you cut your potatoes bigger, they might take a little bit longer. If you cook your potatoes smaller, you have to keep an eye on them because again, you don't want them to cook completely. So for me, I'm going to let them boil. Once they boil, I'm going to cook them for about 5 to 8 minutes, and then I'm going to transfer it to my pan. While the potatoes come to a boil, here's what we're going to do. We're going to add our avocado oil. I like to do a generous amount because this is what's gonna make your potatoes really crispy. So, and avocado oil is really good for you. An extra virgin olive oil is really good for you. So I kind of bit more. I don't really mind. It's just a little bit of oil. Here, I like to mix them together. So you can see my whole roasting pan, it's covered with the oil. And again, this is going to make your potatoes so good. So I have my rosemary. You can add as little, as much as you like. I'm just gonna cut them. I'm gonna distribute it in the oil. And now we have to add some garlic clove. Ooh, my goodness. This garlic is not very good. Okay, let me wash my hands to see what I can do. I'm gonna have to get another head of garlic. All I'm gonna do is give them a quick smash, and I'm gonna throw it right in, skin and all. Doesn't really matter. We just want the oil to infuse, right? And you're probably asking yourself, what's the point of preheating the pan and the oil as the oven preheats? Well, here's what happens. By doing it this way, you're pretty much killing two birds with one stone. You're preheating your oven, and you're also preheating the pan, which once you add the potatoes to the hot pan, it's going to immediately start crisping the potatoes. And by slowly preheating the oil in the pan as the oven preheats, you are infusing the beautiful oil. So you're getting a lot of garlic and rosemary flavor, and it's just going to be phenomenal. Let me tell you, it's so good because as the oil slowly preheats, all those beautiful rosemary and garlic flavor are going to be infused and preheating with it. So you're going to end up with just beautiful potatoes. Trust me on this. I said pretty much killing two birds with one stone here. I'm going to start preheating my oven because I'm only going to cook the potatoes for about 8 more minutes, and that's pretty much what the oven takes to preheat. So you want the potatoes to be ready by the time your oil is ready. You want to preheat your oven at 450 degrees Fahrenheit. I do like to remove the pan when the temperature hits about 405. I feel like the oil just gets too hot and there's no need to keep it in anymore because obviously the pan is going to be really hot and it's going to be ready to go. So I'm going to do that, and then we can move on to the next step. My potatoes are exactly how I want them. They're slightly soft on the outside, but when I insert a knife or a fork in them, they're still kind of hard in the middle, and that's exactly how you want them. But here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna drain your potatoes, and we're gonna give our potatoes a really nice kind of toss. Just want to get a beautiful potato facial because it's really steamy. So we're getting a very nice potato facial here as well. Okay, and I'm going to show you what happens when you kind of swoosh your potatoes around. Okay, so you're gonna be able to tell this that as I'm agitating the potatoes a little bit, here's what's happening to them. So you can see all around the potatoes, you can see they're getting kind of mushy and kind of like a mashed potato consistency on the outside. That is going to provide the most beautiful, crispy bits on your potatoes that you have ever tasted in your life. My oil is hot and ready to go. If you could only smell how incredible this smells, it's wonderful. Now I do want to remove the rosemary from the pan because this rosemary has already served its purpose. If you leave it in there, it's gonna burn and it's not good because again, it's gonna ruin pretty much your potato. So I'm just going to remove all of the rosemary from the pan. You can actually remove the garlic as well and add new garlic if you wanna eat the garlic. Now my potatoes are pretty much dried and beautiful. And I'm gonna add them right in here. Give each potato some space so they roast properly. So since we did remove the rosemary, and I do love rosemary with my potatoes, I'm gonna add some fresh rosemary all around. And this is going to be
beautiful. So you can see this is gonna go back into my oven for, I would say 40 minutes. You want the potatoes to be, again, really nice and golden all around. Potatoes are out of the oven. They are looking phenomenal. They were roasting for exactly, I believe it was 35 minutes. Obviously, like I said, it might take less, it might take longer. Listen, I want you guys to see. I want you guys to really see. Do you see how golden these potatoes are? So I'm going to transfer them to my plate. I did flip them halfway, just a little bit. I wasn't too precise with it, but I did want to flip them so they could have a chance to really roast on all sides. Okay, and now if you want, and only if you want, you can sprinkle some more rosemary on top. I want you to tell me these are not the best looking roasted potatoes. Just look how incredibly golden and crispy they are. I can still tell that they're really nice and soft in the middle. They're just wonderful. Look at that. Look at that color, the crispiness. Believe me when I tell you that if I could marry these potatoes, I would. Because you don't even understand what it's like to have perfect, crispy roasted potatoes. There's just like many type of potatoes you could make, but these are one of my favorite. They're also really hot. I'm actually gonna hit them with a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper, because I think I forgot to add a little bit of salt and pepper before adding them into the oven. I don't know. Some days, listen, there's days that I'm so forgetful. It's awful. That's why you should always have a recipe on hand so you can look at it, make sure you're not missing any steps. It's so hot. But they're so perfect. I hope you guys can hear the crispiness. Look, I'm gonna get really close to my mic. They're really nice and pillowy and fluffy in the middle, but the outside is incredibly, perfectly roasted and crispy. So hot. We're so perfectly delicious. I hope you guys enjoy this recipe. Remember, the written recipe is on my website, anitasdelightsrecipes.com. In case you want to see the written recipe and the amount of everything I use, you can find it there. Also in the description box, I also leave a direct link to it. If you guys make these potatoes, let me know how you like them, because to me, we're absolutely perfect. And you better believe me that I'm sitting down with this whole bowl of potatoes in front of me. I'm gonna eat them all. And I am not one bit guilty about it. They're just that perfect. I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.